In this updated program, we are using standard library functions such as stdlib.h, math.h, and ctype.h. Let's take a look at how these libraries are being used along with conditions, if statements, for loops, and return statements. We have defined two functions here, isInvalid and isInvalid input, to check if the input provided by the user is valid or not. Let's go through these functions. In the isInvalid function, we are using a for loop to iterate through the input string character by character. Inside the loop, we are checking if the character is a numeric character or a decimal point. If it is not a numeric character or a decimal point, we return 1, indicating that the input is invalid. Otherwise, we return 0, indicating that the input is valid. For example, if the input string is 45.6, the function will return 0 since all characters are either numeric or a decimal point. However, if the input string is 12A3, the function will return 1 since the character A is not a numeric character or a decimal point. In the isInvalid function, In the isInvalid input function, rather, we are checking if the input string is valid for the given validation rules. We are checking if the input string contains only the characters y, n, and the numbers 1 through 5. For example, if the input string is 1.4yn, the function will return 1 since the characters have a not valid characters. It also checks if the input string contains only one y and one n. We have also defined a function named perform operation that takes into operands and an operator and performs the requested operation. For example, if we call this function with the parameters option 1 and num1 is 5 and num2 is 3, it will return 8 since it performs the addition operation on the two operands. These functions are integral part of our program and help us validate the user's input and performs calculations accurately. Certainly, topper is a function from the ctype.h library that converts a lowercase character to its uppercase equivalent. In this code, it is used to ensure that the input is case insensitive by converting all the characters to uppercase before checking their validity. Input A is used to access the individual characters in the input string, where A is a variable used as an index in the isInvalid function. This is used to check if a string contains non-numeric characters in the isInvalid input function. It is used to validate that the input string conforms to the validation rules specified in the code. The function isDigit C checks whether the character C is a decimal digit 0 to 9. It returns a non-zero value if C is a digit and 0 otherwise. The int I equals 0, input I is not equal to a new line, and increment I loop is used to iterate over the characters in the input string until the new line character is reached. The new line character is added to the input string when the user hits the enter key after typing their input. The loop iterates over the characters in the input string starting from the first character, I equals 0, and checks if each character is not equal to the new line character. If the character is not a new line character, the loop body is executed, which performs various validation checks on the character. Once the new line character is reached, the loop terminates and the function returns the validation result.